Hello, everybody. Douglas actually came here with the one and only Douglas Eze. I know I looked up your full name. What does the C stand for?
Chukwuka.
I knew it. Um, how are you doing today, Mr. Eze?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I am doing good. So for those of you who don't know, Mr. Eze is a financial fiduciary, the author of 5 books, including a children's activity book on finances. Kids, get into it. This is what you should be asking for Christmas. This is one of his books, and this is the other one. So he is very experienced in finances, and he's well versed in how to build generational wealth for you and for your children and for your children's children. So we're going to begin today with my first question. Mr. Eze, you are originally from Nigeria, and you immigrated to Canada and then eventually the US. Tell us about your upbringing and how it shaped who you are today, especially on your financial journey.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my dad was actually in the Biafran army during the war. I mean, he was like, Ojuku's right hand man.
Really?
Yeah, so it was the guy that goes out and spy. But the war ended. Biafra lost, right? But but they still had that spirit in them. And then later down the line, he became a professional boxer. Fought for for Nigeria for years, so it was very good. They called him the Golden Eze. And then he became a police officer for the Nigerian police. Did that for a while, and then later became an entrepreneur, started running his own business. Tractor trailers and all that stuff, just putting his hands in different things to survive. I've opened up a fashion studio, so I kind of watched all this transition. And but I'm like, man, I gotta find a way out of these countries, and that's what I did. So I went to Canada first. Long story, can't share too much about that journey. It was interesting, and then later on got to Canada, and from Canada lived there for a while. But America was a place I needed to be. So I came to America with nothing, actually. Was young, waiting table IHOP.
That must have been really interesting watching your parents who survived the Civil War and then seeing your dad go on to not be discouraged by that experience, but rather to continuously create a new business, pursue entrepreneurship. We know that Igbo people are very entrepreneurial, perhaps to a fault. So what lessons on business did you witness and learn early on from your father?
Yeah, the power of focus and being consistent, and also understanding that Rome was not built in one day. So you got to keep striving and keep elevating your mindset.
So touching back on your experience as an immigrant, being that you're from West Africa, specifically Nigeria, we know that a lot of immigrants here come to this country. They're so hardworking, but when it comes to finances, because we don't have the correct infrastructure in Africa on how to, grow your wealth, pass things down generationally to your children, we're great at passing down land. I feel like most of the people that I meet from, Alibo, they have like my dad's land, my mom's land. That's great. But then in terms of maintenance, it falls off after like 1 or 2 generations. So what are the common mistakes that you see immigrants making as pertaining to, teaching their children about wealth, being stewards of their own finances here in America?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question, which is one reason why I actually wrote my first book called Creating Generational Wealth. Because, I love that book because the way I wrote, that's my first book. And I put a lot of things in there because I wanted to educate not just the people reading the book for themselves, but also people that are in the financial service industry. So when I got into the financial service space, the first thing I had to understand was, what is it that the guy here named Walt Disney, how is he able to continue his business for years? And he's dead. And then I'm like, okay, that's interesting. How about Johnson and Johnson family? The guy that started it is dead. How is he able to continue his company for years? And they've stopped. But then when you look at Africa, you can only count maybe 1 or 2 families that are still wealthy, but a lot of the wealthy folks that we know, that I know growing up, that are dead, the wealth stayed with them. I'm like, so what's the guy in Africa doing different from the guy in America? So that was something that I said, okay, when I ask people in the same industry that are my friends in the business, and I ask them a question, they keep giving me the same answer. It's old money. I'm like, old money runs out. So I had to step out of that box, and I started researching the wealthy families in America. How do they operate? How they move? And then I went back and I started researching the American government. How does American government structure its country?
Okay, so in Africa, we have a lot of, poor wealth distribution. We're the poorest continent financially, not in terms of resources, but there's a lot of people suffering in poverty on the continent. What institutions should our countries start setting up to ensure that people can be financially stable and to ensure that our countries can stop running like countries and start running like businesses?
Yeah, very. So first is, once the leaders, because that's a problem we have in Africa, and it's unfortunate because again, I hate to say it, but it's what it is. I'm 100. Black people, we as black folks, we're very divided. And we always think about me, 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 instead of we, right? So in Africa, unfortunately, the first thing that needs to be taken care of is rewriting their constitution to make sure that the constitution protects and identify how long somebody has to run. So that we don't have presidents running for 30, 50 years and stuff like that, That's first thing, respecting and protecting the constitution, just like America has. And then having a blueprint, understanding that this is a business. We gotta run it as a business. And then all the humans in Africa are assets to the government. So what the first thing, is identify what are the skills that we can sell to other countries. For example, Nigerians have the best doctors. When they hear, they're running a lot of hospitals here. Just like all these other, like India, the tech, they see that that's their skill set. So when we identify that, now we negotiate for power.
Yeah, in terms of the African mentality, what mindset shifts do we need in order to build wealth in our countries back home and then in our adopted countries abroad?
So anywhere you go in the world, you need to figure out how do you scale up.
Yeah.
That's the problem. A lot of people don't figure out how they scale up and move up the ladder. The key is this: wherever you go in life, you got to find a circle. If you want to be, if you're the smartest person in your circle, it's time to find a different circle.
Yeah.
I'm very, very open to learning, and I'm also very, very open to investing
In yourself.
in myself to get more knowledge.
Yeah. Just going back to Africa, in a world where we're seeing how quickly AI is advancing, and we know that Africa is significantly behind in adopting, generative AI, technology, etc. Do you see it being easier to make wealth and generational wealth, or do you see it becoming a lot more challenging both here and back home?
No, you gotta embrace any new thing what is coming. The world is changing. Just like back in the day, whatever we're using 20, 30 years ago, it was changing. You gotta be ready to embrace it and move with the change. Unfortunately, most people don't. They stay in the same position and they don't learn nothing new. If you don't learn, then you're gonna be left behind.
Yeah. Any final remarks?
Listen, folks, continue winning. You're in the greatest country in the world, the United States. But remember, don't forget home. For my leaders, listen, you already have the tools, you have the people, you have the network. Invest in your people. Invest in your people so they could scale up, because they're coming in and they're doing great in other countries. Invest in your people. Follow me at douglaseze.com. You can find all my stuff there, and we'll book a one-on-one and help you win. See you at the top.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Eze.
You're welcome.
Bye, everyone.